It's possible to like Tom, or if you like the Mountain Men series. This well-liked and tough man lived with his wife in the woods for 50 years, away from people and everything else. He had to deal with huge physical, mental, and emotional problems that forced him to leave the peace that many people seek and return to the city. See what happened to Tom Moore. It will make you think about how bad life can be. It's not just a story of tough survival and backwoods craftsmanship in the defeat of Tom Moore. It's also a deep story of grit, change, love, and quiet sadness. Tom was one of the main characters on the History Channel show Mountain Men, and he lived an off-grid, independent, and deeply connected to nature life that many people can only dream about. Hand-sewn buckskin and snow-covered log cabins may look simple, but they hide a life full of hard-won knowledge, sacrifice, and strength in the face of loss and physical decline. The author Tom was born in 1943 in Rockford, Illinois. He grew up in a family that had a strong connection to the American West. Chicor, Tom's father, was a famous horse buster and performer in Wild West shows in the early 1900s. This way of life had a big impact on Tom's life. He learned about the rough and tumble world of rodeo at a young age, and it didn't take him long to fall in love with it. He wanted to be a professional bronc rider and became known and respected all over the country for being brave and skilled. That being said, cowboy life is hard on the body, and Tom knew he couldn't keep going when he was 30. In the 1970s, Tom and Nancy, his wife, made the brave choice to leave modern life behind and find peace and quiet in the remote Yaak Valley in northwest Montana. Few people in the lower 48 states even knew where Yaak was at that time. It's in one of the most remote places in the country. It wasn't so much a getaway as it was a matter of being true to yourself. Tom and Nancy wanted to be self-sufficient and be free. They wanted to depend on themselves and the land. They built their house by hand and lived through long winters without running water or power. They also learned how to trap animals, tan hides, and sew their own clothes. Over time, Tom learned how to do traditional tanning and became one of the best buckskin makers in the country. The couple got along with the land, and the ups and downs of living in the wilderness made their relationship better. Tom's life changed again when the Mountain Men makers found him in the early 2010s. His sincerity was very appealing. This man was living the life he wanted, doing well in situations that most people would find unbearable. People were drawn to him right away because he was calm, worked hard, and clearly loved his wife and animals. He wasn't trying to be famous, he was just being Tom. The reason people loved him was because of that. Over the years, the show showed his daily activities, such as cutting wood, fixing gear, shooting, and getting ready for the harsh Montana winters. But the cameras also caught his modesty, his sense of humor, and, more, the signs of aging. Tom's body started to show the signs of that rough life and getting older as the years went by. In 2022, he started having heart problems like shortness of breath, tiredness, and pain in his chest. The doctors found that his heart wasn't working right and that gunk was building up in his lungs. He was taken to the hospital, given medicine, and told to wear a heart rate monitor. These rules were hard for a man who was used to working hard and being independent. But Tom, who is always realistic, made changes. In October 2024, though, his health got worse again. It was his second time in the hospital, and this time the problems were even worse. It was becoming clear that he could no longer carry on with the outdoor life he loved. Nancy and Tom didn't want to leave their beloved farm in the Yaak, but they did decide to move to Florida in 2020 to be closer to their son Chad. It was a painful choice. The farm wasn't just a house, it was a place where they could make memories and remember their dream of living in the wild. Moving to Florida meant adjusting to a slower, less demanding way of life and, more importantly, accepting that I was getting older and my health was getting worse. On the other hand, it meant more time with family, better health care, and a new kind of peace. Did they make it back home to their families in the end? Yes. Loss of a daughter, family was always important to them in their wild, solitary world. Tom never did anything by himself, his wife Nancy was his partner in every way. Even though their kids lived far away from the wilds of Montana, they were still very important to them. In 2015, something terrible happened to their family that would have shaken even the strongest base. Kaylee Orr, their daughter, died in St. Petersburg, Florida. The reason she died wasn't widely known, and Tom has never gone into a lot of detail about it. This shows how privately he and Nancy deal with their loss. But the fact that no one talked about the tragedy doesn't make it less important. Instead, it makes it more personal and heartbreaking. One of the worst things that can happen to a parent is the death of a child. It goes against the normal order of things. Kids should live longer than their parents, not the other way around. Tom's grief looks different because he finds power and rhythm in the daily tasks of survival, like cutting wood, getting hides ready, and fixing tools. It's not always clear or loud. It stays in the stillness of the snow-covered woods, in the early morning hours when the sun hasn't yet risen over the pines. For Tom, it must have shown up as silence, long times with Nancy by the fire, or the memories that come with a hawk flying by, a piece of handmade leather, or a quiet walk through the trees. The wilderness was a safe place for Tom and a place for him to heal in many ways. While the natural world can't offer comfort, it can offer continuity. The sun comes up and goes down. The years go by. The land wants your attention, and when you give it what it wants, your soul feels more stable. Tom worked on it. He kept teaching, tanning, and building. And maybe most importantly, he kept telling the world his story through Mountain Men, even if it was in bits and pieces. Even though he had lost someone very dear to him, he chose to stay involved with the world. This wasn't a way to hide his sadness, but a quiet way to keep from being consumed by it. The most impressive thing about Tom Orr is how strong he is. When bad things happen, many people would run away or break. But Tom kept living the life he loved, not because it was simple, but because it was real. Tom's life shows that resilience isn't about escaping pain, it's about being able to feel pain and still choose to wake up, care for others, and keep building something important. His decision to keep going, to face each new day in the Yaak Valley, surrounded by snow and silence, was a strong testament to his inner strength. The bond between Tom and Nancy was also a key source of support in these times. Their friendship, forged over decades of hardship and shared dreams, became the emotional foundation upon which they navigated their loss. Together, they mourned. Together, the beauty of their surroundings and the comfort of their daily habits helped them feel better. Their simple, strong, and long-lasting love story is often forgotten, but it's a big part of Tom's ability to live and grow after losing his wife. As the years went by, Tom Orr slowly moved away from living in the woods and toward a more normal life closer to modern society. This was caused by getting older and his circumstances changing. This change didn't happen quickly or easily. For someone like Tom, whose identity and way of life were so closely linked to the forest, the thought of leaving it behind was very personal and emotional. The Orrs had always liked living simply, so they didn't have many modern conveniences for many years. But when Tom got into his 70s and beyond, worries about getting medical care, the hard winters, and general physical strain started to make living alone less appealing. It wasn't just for their own comfort, it was a matter of staying alive and safe. It became harder and harder for them to split logs and take care of their remote homestead. The closest hospital was still hours away, which is a dangerous situation for any elderly pair. Tom's family was another thing that affected his change. His children and grandkids, who lived in cities, were getting more and more worried about his health. Like many people whose parents are getting older, his younger siblings gently pushed for him to move, not to take away his freedom, but to make sure he could still live in comfort and safety. After giving it a lot of thought, Tom and Nancy started to move closer to town, though not quite in the middle of a busy city. The move was a middle ground. It put them closer to family, health care, and grocery stores while still letting them access open places and quieter areas. Even with this change, Tom Orr didn't completely forget where he came from. He still has the spirit of the man from the desert. He has kept up with traditional skills like white leather hides and making custom leatherwork even though he now lives in a more modern place. When he was younger, these interests were driven by needs. Now, they're an art form and a link between the life he lived and the one he's getting used to. Supporters of mountain men have seen this change happen and often say they admire his ability to shift without losing who he is. For Tom, the move wasn't giving up on modernity, it was a careful and necessary change that had to be made because of the way things were in his life. Tom Orr's move from living in the wilderness to living in the city shows a bigger theme about getting older, being strong, and how the balance between freedom and dependence changes over time. He went on a journey that shows the difficulties people who choose a different way of life face and how even the most independent people have to deal with time passing. Tom Orr has been a symbol of strength and humility through it all. He is a reminder that change doesn't have to mean giving up on your values, it can actually make them stronger in new and important ways. How did they stay alive for almost 50 years in the wild? The difficulties of living in the forest. For many people who want to get away from the chaos of modern life, living in the forest is a dream. But for Tom and Nancy Orr, it has been a way of life, full of both deep beauty and deep challenges. Living far from the city, as shown on the TV show Mountain Men, their way of life is a testament to strength, independence, and the human spirit's ability to adapt and survive. Behind the beautiful scenes of snowy landscapes and log cabins, though, is a life full of daily struggles, hard work, and insecurity. An important problem that Tom and Nancy had to deal with was how harsh the Montana desert was. Winters are very harsh and usually last from October to May, when temperatures drop well below freezing. They are cut off from everyone else for weeks at a time by heavy snowfall, which makes even the most basic tasks, like going to a nearby town or gathering firewood, dangerous and hard to do. Preparation is key to survival, and in the months before winter, people are constantly cutting down trees, storing food, fixing houses, and making sure their animals are safe and well fed. Any mistake, delay, or missed step in these plans can lead to very bad results. Healthcare and medical issues are another very big problem. Since Tom and Nancy live hours away from the closest hospital or doctor, they have to rely on their own knowledge and strength when they get sick or hurt. This worry has grown even stronger as they've aged. In such a rural area, cuts, infections, broken bones, or long-term health problems could get worse quickly. Even though help is close, it could take hours or even days to get to them, especially in the winter when the roads are snow-covered and can't be used. Being self-sufficient means that the couple has to do a lot of hard physical work. Tom, a skilled tanner who used to be a rodeo cowboy, spends a lot of time catching, skinning, and preparing animal hides using methods that have been around for hundreds of years. It's very hard work that needs strength, accuracy, and stamina. Nancy is also very important because she helps with work, making food, and keeping the house in good shape. They grow and hunt a lot of their own food together. It's hard to relax when you have to do things like garden during short growing seasons, store meat without refrigeration, and carry water. Another thing that runs through their lives is a lack of financial security. You don't have to pay anything to live off the grid. To make money, the Orrs have had to sell hand-tanned leather items like coats, bags, and moccasins. This kind of craft is gratifying, but it takes a long time and doesn't always pay well. There isn't a big market for these kinds of goods, and earnings can be hard to estimate. Even though being on TV helped them financially and got them some attention, it also put a lot of pressure and scrutiny on them, which goes against their naturally private and alone life. Being alone is also both a blessing and a pain. The forest is peaceful and quiet, but you can't get in touch with family, friends, or people in the community for help. When you're in a physical or mental crisis, there isn't much help close by. In a place so far away, holidays, crises, and even just being with other people can become more important and meaningful. Tom and Nancy's relationship isn't just romantic, it's also something that keeps them alive. They keep going because they trust and work together, even when things look dark and uncertain. They have found that the physical needs of life have only gotten tougher as they have aged. Every winter feels colder, every log feels heavy, and every trip into town is harder when you live in the woods. It gets harder over time to decide to keep living this way. Many people respect how strong they are, but not many know how hard it is on their minds and bodies. Even though there are hard winters, medical risks, hard work, doubt about money, and being alone, Tom and Nancy have stayed committed to the path they have chosen. Living in the woods isn't just a way for them to stay alive, it's also a philosophical statement about freedom, being true to yourself, and being connected to nature. It serves as a lesson that living a simple life does not always mean it is easy. It requires choices, discipline, and bravery that most people today don't have to use very often. Tom and Nancy live in the middle of nowhere in Montana. Their life is both very impressive and very hard. Their daily problems with the weather, their health, money, work, and being alone show what it's really like to live off the grid. Their story isn't just about surviving, it's also about love, endurance, and how people can find meaning and purpose in the simplest things, no matter how bad things get. Is it worth it to live alone and far away? In a world where our days are planned down to the minute, where our worth is often tied to how much we get done, and where there is never any peace among all the noise, there is something strangely beautiful about Tom Moore. We know him not only as a tough outdoorsman in the Montana mountains thanks to the History Channel show Mountain Men, but also as a quiet philosopher of a lost way of life. He didn't just tell a story from the past, he held up a mirror to modern life. For many viewers, it was a highly personal call to rethink what it means to live fully, freely, and with purpose. Tom Moore's life is both easy and deep at the same time. Most people would think that the things he does every day, chopping wood, trapping animals, tanning hides, and getting ready for the harsh winters, are burdens, but there is a holy rhythm to them all. Every job has a purpose, and every day is a quiet reminder to be present and rely on yourself. We feel something deep inside when we see Tom Moore work with his hands, deal with nature's unpredictable ways, and face each season with humble persistence. It speaks to a desire that many people didn't even know they had, to be closer to the earth, to oneself, and to live a slower, more deliberate life. Tom is a man who doesn't follow time. Instead, he lives by the sun, the seasons, and what the land needs. He doesn't try to be famous or successful, but by just being himself, he has inspired millions of people. Mountain Men, and Tom in particular, have had an effect that goes beyond fun. The show has become a modern-day tale because it shows people a way of life that is very different from the way most of us live. It makes you think, and sometimes it makes you feel uncomfortable. As we watch Tom stock his root cellar, make his own tools, and fix his house by hand, we are made to think about how much we count on ease of use. While he gets ready for the snow, we look at our phones. We go grocery shopping while he hunts and cooks his own food. What have we lost in the name of progress? This makes us ask hard but important questions. Where did the comforts of today come from? Living alone in the middle of nowhere isn't just a matter of being physically apart, it's also a mental journey. Strong body strength isn't enough. But heart and mind strength. Being alone is no longer a pain, it becomes a friend. Nature stops being a threat and starts being a teacher. There is no need to act fake in the bush because it is so quiet. The environment doesn't like it when people lie or forgive them. It shows who you are, makes you creative, and awards patience. Tom's story shows us how important it is to keep learning skills that have been passed down from generation to generation, like cooking from scratch, sewing your own clothes, and reading the sky for weather signs. These aren't old artifacts, they're valuable, up-to-date information. Some people might think that his way of life is very simple, but it is actually very polite in the best sense of the word. It makes sense, is connected, and can last. Tom Moore's story is especially moving because he doesn't want to be the center of attention. He doesn't have a social media account or any business deals. He lives for the happiness of the life he has made, not for what other people think of him. But his power lies in the fact that he is honest and quiet. Many Mountain Men fans have a strong emotional link to Tom, not just because he is good at survival, but also because he is humble, kind, and it's clear that he loves and works with Nancy. He lives a very honest life in a time when people are often skeptical. The most important thing Tom may teach us is that a good life is not always an easy life. Do you agree? It's one where the things you do matter, the people you know are important, and your heart is in the place you live. A life where you know yourself well. There is more to Tom's story than just the forest. The wilderness shapes him, challenges him, and gives him a place to truly belong. The lives of people like Tom or show us how to reconnect with nature, with each other, and with ourselves in a world where we are becoming more and more disconnected. Some people might not want to or be able to move to the woods and live without electricity or phone service. We can slow down, though. We can learn a new skill, plant a yard, take a walk in the woods, or just sit still more often. We can choose to live with more purpose in small but significant ways. Mountain Men is more than just a show, it's a way to think. Of course, Tom Moore is more than just a mountain man. He is also a quiet teacher who shows us how wise it is to live simply, deeply, and in peace with nature. He walked a road that isn't often taken, but maybe more of us should think about it, even if it's just in our minds. A good or bad show? Mountain Men has built a loyal fan group and found its own niche in the crowded world of reality TV since its premiere in 2012. This show is about men and women who choose to live off the grid in some of North America's most remote wilderness places. It has become a symbol of independence and tough individualism. A lot of people have said bad things about Mountain Men, though, as with many long-running reality shows. The public's response has been mixed. Some have praised its authenticity and educational value, while others have questioned its realism, pacing, and moral meanings. To fully understand the show's cultural effect, you need to know about both the praise and the criticism. A simpler, more grounded way of life is shown in Mountain Men, which is one of the things that people like most about it. People are interested in the characters because they have a strong link to nature, know how to use traditional skills, and are determined to live without modern conveniences. People like Eustace Conway, Marty Meyer-Roto, and Tom Moore have become symbols for people who are fed up with consumer society and city life. A lot of people think the show is a welcomed breath of fresh air. As a way to escape reality, it meets a real need, to slow down, get back to basics, and live a life focused on survival rather than success on the surface. There is also educational value in each show, which many fans like. The show shows fans old crafts, how to survive in the wilderness, how to track animals, and how to get ready for the seasons. All of these things are woven into the personal stories of each mountain man and woman. It makes people interested in skills that have been lost and makes them think about survival. Protecting the environment and being independent. Because of this, Mountain Men is often praised not only as fun, but also as a casual way to learn about strength and old ways of doing things. But there are people who don't like the show. One criticism that keeps coming up is the question of sincerity. Even though the show is advertised as a documentary-style look into real lives, some viewers and reviewers have said that it is partly scripted or too dramatic for TV. Some people are wondering if the risks and challenges the group faces are really as random as they seem because of the way the stories are edited, which includes dramatic music, cliffhangers, and tightly structured plots. Some viewers say that some scenes look staged or overstated, which calls the show's claim to realism into question. Aside from worries about the scripts, the way danger is shown has also caused ethical issues. Some critics have said that the show might make dangerous things seem more appealing in the woods without giving enough information or warning. The characters are definitely skilled and experienced, but the way they talk about things like surviving alone in the woods, running into bears, and long, cold winter hikes might make viewers not realize how dangerous these ways of life really are. Some teachers and outdoor experts say that the show is interesting, but it doesn't do enough to show how much training and knowledge are needed to live safely in those conditions. Animal rights groups are also worried about what's on the show. Mountain Men has a lot of scenes with people hunting, trapping, and skinning animals, which are all classic ways for the cast to make a living. Many rural towns legally and culturally allow these things to happen, but viewers who are uncomfortable with the graphic nature of the content have spoken out against them. Supporters of the show say that the scenes are true representations of life in the wild and are not meant to celebrate violence against animals. Instead, they say that the show shows a way of life that respects nature's cycles. Another complaint is that the show's cast and storylines don't have enough different kinds of people. For a lot of its run, Mountain Men has mostly been about white male figures who are older. Some women and younger people are added to the show in later seasons, but critics say it still shows a limited view of life in the wilderness and doesn't fully explore the wide range of people, especially indigenous groups, who have lived off the land for generations. Some people think that the lack of these views is a missed chance to make the show more culturally and historically relevant. Some fans have also said they don't like how the show is produced because they think it moves too slowly and repeats itself too much. Episodes often follow the same patterns, like getting ready for winter, dealing with animal threats, and fixing problems on the farm. This is normal in the wilderness, but it can get boring for viewers. Some longtime fans say that the show's newer seasons don't have the same depth and energy as its earlier seasons. Mountain Men still has good ratings and a loyal fan base, despite these complaints. For every negative review, there are a huge number of passionate fans who fiercely support the show, highlighting the real lives of its actors and the inspiration it gives. There are a lot of characters that people connect with emotionally, especially older people like Tom Orr, who is often called the heart of the show. People's reactions show this two-sided truth. Some don't like the way it's put together or what it says, while others see it as a unique ode to the spirit of endurance, craftsmanship, and quiet strength. Mountain Men is more than just a TV show, it shows how much we all want to find meaning, connect with others, and explore the wild places that are still out there. Tom Orr is now in his early 80s and lives a quiet life. He is no longer in the snowy mountains, but he is still surrounded by love, animals, and the spirit of independence that makes him who he is. His legacy lives on not only in reruns of Mountain Men, but also in the way he lived his life, by staying true to your values, working hard, and staying humble through fame, wealth, and sadness. His life shows that, the good old days, aren't just memories, you can choose to live in them. Which choice did Tom make every day? In the mountains, in the snow, by the wood stove, and with Nancy by his side. The story of Tom Orr's trip is both moving and sad. It's a celebration of living close to nature, sticking together through hard times, and having the quiet strength to age with grace. While he may have been out of the public eye, his rough yet soft spirit lives on in the hearts of all who long for a simpler, more honest way of life. Are you ready to leave your life and live in the woods? Leave your thoughts below, and let's hear them. We'll see you in the next one.